Hi, this is Privateer Station, and today we bring you day 265 of Putin's invasion into Ukraine, with Alexei Arestovich, advisor to the Office of the President of Ukraine, Lieutenant Colonel, and Mark Feygin, Russian opposition politician. In today's stream, they discuss Russian missile strike on Poland, NATO reaction, limits and probabilities, why Russia decided to conduct mass missile strike on Ukraine during G20 Summit. Negotiation calls and slow walking of military supplies likely led to deaths of NATO country citizens. Activities on the left bank of Dnepr, new grouping of Putin's troops near Melitopol, fending off the largest missile barrage yet, Ukraine shot down 73 of 90 Russian missiles. G20 Summit results, among which only 19 countries are left present. Putin's Lavrov skedaddled after a series of humiliations. Enjoy. Dear friends, glad to see you all on Feygin Live. It is Tuesday, November 15th. Time is 2 minutes after 10 in Kiev and 2 minutes after 11 in Moscow. And we start our usual stream, day 265, with Alexei Arestovich. Alexei, glad to see you. Good evening. 125,000 are watching us live, 23,000 click the like button. Thank you, dear friends, for doing that. Especially the ones who are watching us in Ukraine, where in many places there is no electricity. In any case, please continue sharing links to our show. And, of course, subscribe to Feygin Live, to Alexei Arestovich, and to the Privateer Station if you are listening or watching that in English. The description to and other details and merchandise store are in the description to the video. Alright, let's start with the main thing, right? Yeah, let's do that. Let's take the bull by the horns. So they dropped these missiles in Poland. 2 people died. American intel supposedly confirmed that missiles did cross the border of Poland. And the first question here, they probably were shooting in Lvov direction, and it did reach a little further. They could have been shooting at Yavorovsky grounds. That's a big military training grounds. And it's right adjacent to the border. It's between 6 and 12 miles from the border. So what I heard, the distance where it fell is about 60 miles from the border. 60 kilometers, so probably about 45 miles. Sorry, I was not able to track the actual distance. I was a bit busy with other stuff. So could you at least elaborate? I understand. Yeah, they're already accusing, saying that it's not them, that it's Ukrainian missile shooting Russian stuff, and it's probably Ukrainian missile that fell over. So you see, they're refusing. They're trying to explain that it's not theirs. Yeah, that's what they're doing. This is the most idiotic behavior that I could predict in this way. These motherfuckers are stupid. This is the same thing they've done, Mark, yeah, this is the same thing they've done with Boeing, with other things. And they'll probably use it as a pause. They're trying to do that to not escalate. Investigation and all. So you think NATO will also not react? What kind of reaction? No-fly zone over Ukraine? I don't believe that. Strike on Russian troops? I don't believe that either. Perhaps an ultimatum about not shooting beyond a certain longitude. And then again, it begs another question, why do people to the east of that longitude have to die in Ukraine? But it does beg some reaction. Right, but I suspect they were not really targeting objects in Poland. Oh, I understand that, but the answer could be, sorry, we have not aimed at your ships, but suddenly 10 of them sank. Mark, I don't believe NATO is capable of making these decisions. I just don't believe that. There have been a ton of other incidents. There were UAVs, Russian UAVs that flew deep into the territory of Poland that were doing intel gathering near their military grounds, military camps. We don't talk about that in media much, but they existed. These things happened. These incidents happened. And it's a UAV. It's unmanned. It's a classic violation of the border. Military apparatus of the foreign country crossing the border doing intel gathering. You're NATO, right? You're supposed to be scary. Shoot it down, but they never did. So I think those who are seeing the nuclear war apocalypses and destruction of Russian military troops all the way to Ural Mountains, I'm not saying that. I'm not addressing you, Mark. I'm just addressing some of our viewers. You know what? I'd love to be wrong, but I'm very skeptical. Okay, but let's still research that. Let's look under each stone and try to understand why things are not happening or happening. Because every hooligan, if not kicked back, they will continue doing what they're doing. Well, Mark, they will deny. There is a difference between a planned attack and the accident. But they are denying. They are in denial now, but eventually they will acknowledge. And remember the situation with Boeing when they shot it down? They did not kill 2 farmers then. They killed almost, 300 people on board? And what? Everybody knows that Moscow shot it. And what? Moscow got a scary nuclear strike on itself? Or got any ultimatum or something? Now, there'll be likely a court. There'll be a court proceedings. There'll probably be assigned certain compensations and reparations to pay to Poland. However, as one of the versions, as a variant, they could have hit certain targets in Poland. Frankly, 60 kilometers, that's a little too far. 45 miles off the border, that's pretty far. That could be suspicious as perhaps that's a real terrorist act, if that can be proven. If that was indeed a conscious provocation and attack on the NATO targets, that'll be a different thing. But look, Alexei, they already are deep on the way. That's not me, that's not my ass. So are they already claiming that Ukrainians shot down missiles and the missiles fell in the wrong direction? Yeah, they're saying that Ukraine shot their missiles in a wrong trajectory, so they continued flying, and as a result, they fell on the territory of Poland and killed people. Basically accusing Ukraine of having 2 left hands and not knowing how to use intercept missiles. So, as the leadership in Poland said, and Americans said, let's first figure out the facts. So, if they pick it up and do the analysis and figure that is S-300, it's a Ukrainian missile, then again, we have not shot Ukrainian missiles on the territory of Poland. That is a trace of us shooting down Russian missiles. We were not shooting Poland, we were shooting at Russian missiles. We were defending our country, and in this case we could have made a technical mistake, even if we take that as the worst probability, and the missiles fell on the territory of Poland. These are still a result of Russian aggression. Was there no aggression, these missiles would not be flying. This is almost... You can draw parallels with the situation of 2 cars getting into an accident on the intersection. And one of them that was hit by the guilty vehicle flies further and kills a pedestrian. So the one who initially caused the collision would be guilty. So that would be a similar logic in this case. If one missile is Russian, another is Ukrainian, or it could be an option that there could be 2 Russian missiles, nothing Ukrainian, but In every of these eventualities, I still do not believe in severe consequences, like a blockade of Kaliningrad or other things. I just don't believe that'll be the result of it. What I do believe is that supplies of weapons will continue to escalate. And as I said, it's difficult to hold war in some brackets. War always wants to break free and to engulf more resources, more people, more territories. So that's kind of a lesson to NATO. I'm getting a message here in chat that the distance from the border was 6.7 kilometers, so roughly about 5 miles of the border. Yeah, this is a smaller distance. Okay, so you think Ukraine will likely be getting more weapons, right? What about any attack vehicles, attack tools? I doubt that because most of nomenclature is defensive. We might get a bit more jets and a bit more air defense systems to specifically target that threat. I do not see any radical changes as a result of it. Okay, I mean, sad as is, but let's accept your theory. Mark, I'm skeptical, but if I'm wrong, I'll be the first one to come out and say, hooray, I'm glad I was wrong. Okay, so today's shellings. Do you see any reason for that in combination with G20, with Naryshkin and Burns meeting in Ankara? I think it's pretty simple. They did not have any friendly reception in G20, and as a result, they did that. Oh, I understand that, but they could have done it next week or a day after. Why do it the same day? I think it's their usual stance. You have no right to talk to us like that, to treat us like that. Here, get it. This is addressing those naive people in the West who are still talking about negotiations. I think Scholz noticed some progress in negotiations with Russia, in situation with Russia. So here's progress for you. Now the whole night you guys will be spending meeting with your military committees and discussing, and your national security councils, and discussing giddily what just happened in Poland. Now America will wake up soon, and I think it's already up and making statements. So how much can you fuckers talk about this progress? This is blatant lies and bullshit. All these negotiations in progress with Putin. Here is your concrete reaction to progress. You said progress. Here is the biggest barrage of missiles, the biggest since the beginning of this war. Probably, okay, maybe not from the first day, but definitely since March. And as a result, 2 citizens of NATO countries are dead. These are your negotiations. That's where they lead to. An idiot would understand that all you need to do to stop that, you need to win militarily on the front. And you don't even need to go fight. Just give us weapons. We'll close that subject for you. And if you won't, war will try to break free. You'll be catching missiles here and there. Because, by the way, these idiots in Moscow are already claiming from the beginning that they are fighting with the whole world and with NATO. I think what we initially stated, that we are defending NATO countries in Europe from Russian aggression, is not even a vague statement anymore. This has been proven time and time again. Okay, let's take a look at the map. Let's see if there are any news there too. What news, Mark? Okay, let's see. We were curious about the left bank of Kherson, of Dnepr. Okay, left bank. There are no active groups of Ukrainian military. Everything, all shootings and explosions there. This is the work of partisans, small arms fire. So Oleshki, we don't see taken. No, Oleshki and Gola Pristan are not taken. Hindenburg sandbar, they're saying there is still fighting going on there. So I suspect maybe partisans or maybe cross shellings, but yeah, that's as we usually say, we should not be jumping in too early before things are confirmed. Exactly. Wait for confirmation. We did hit a couple targets good yesterday. We were reaching all the way down to Armyansk, the radius of HIMARS, and nobody's going to give them time to sit and prepare. And there's really nowhere to hide in these steps. And all of them are legit targets that we already started going through. Left bank is not a good place for sitting.
Да. Ну, это очевидно. Но они якобы несколько на ревизионное расстояние отдаляются, на километр 25, что ли?
Well, they are saying they're withdrawing to 20-25 kilometers away with their resources and command posts. Yeah, they are doing that usually so that field artillery cannot reach them. It will still not make their life much easier, but we'll see what they'll be doing. As an option, we do need to warn our citizens of Kherson that they might be attacking them back, and please, dear citizens, do not ignore signals of aerial attacks, and if you hear them, go hide. Go to a proper location.
Они боятся, что
Now, they're also drawing Russian troops to Melitopol. I think it's probably the only reason is that you can somewhat defend the city in steppe, but you can't really defend anything else there. Regardless where and how you dig your fortification, it's very easy to navigate around it and attack you from behind or some other angle. So they're probably going to hold Melitopol. This is a big railroad junction and an airport there, which is getting hit regularly, by the way. Now, Ugledar, let's go there. Situation there is still very complex. These guys are really trying to get to capture Pavlov near Ugledar, Pavlovka, and today they caught a good hit by HIMARS and artillery and aviation, and they got a bit sad. And you can actually start seeing some notes in their posts that this is a trap. And if we continue pushing, we will all die here. Only these people can waste so many people for taking some village in a lowland.
ну, Павловка
So
практически
is Pavlovka basically taken? Is that right? One can say that there is a lot of fighting going on the outskirts of it, in Pavlovka area.
Да, понятно.
Okay.
Пошли дальше.
What about Marinka,
Маринка вот здесь.
where that red arrow at around 6 o'clock on this map now? Yeah, they continue the same thing from Marinka to Avdiivka to Bakhmut. They continue sending several platoons on our positions, up to 8 attacks a day. We keep shooting them. They also attack us with their artillery, and we suffer losses. They do. The ratio is roughly 1 to 7.
На карте все.
1 Ukrainian fighter for 7 Russian fighters. Is that all? Well, we can also mention that out of 90 missiles that were shot today, 73 were downed by Ukrainian air defense. Let me double check how many of them did we shoot down. We also had 10 UAVs, Shaheds. We shot all of them down. They also shot some of the X missiles. We got them down from the Black Sea. And there was one Russian UAV, Orion, that was also shot down. My chat is screaming here, asking you to speak louder. Oh, sorry, I turned to look for the data. It's a directional mic. So this was one of the biggest barrages, definitely bigger than the one on the 10th. So we shot down 73, that's a lot, that's about 80%. But 20% did reach the target, and they hit pretty painful goals. So, yeah, we do feel that. Alright, a question then. Do we see any Iranian missiles in that portfolio? No, there are no Iranian missiles flying yet. And I have a feeling that they're just biding time. They're figuring out how to resolve a few internal questions before probably supplying them. So I think they're negotiating about that. I'm glad that they do. The longer, the better. Last thing we need here is more missiles, Iranian missiles. We are keeping our hand on the pulse, so the moment we start getting hit by Iranian missiles, we'll of course know. We have 300 plus thousand watching us, over 100,000 click the like button. Thank you so much for doing that. Of course, subscribe to Feygin Live, to Alexey Arestovich. On our Feygin Live, we're almost at 1,970,000. So this is all important. The more of you subscribe, the higher we are in recommendations on YouTube, and the more people see these streams. All right. Let's discuss the G20 Summit results. We, of course, heard the speech of Zelensky, and we understand the reaction to that. All this could easily be predicted, and except for probably idiotic motions around that by Lavrov, he appeared like he was drugged or something. All these pictures in some underwear with watches and stuff, and then his behavior in the summit, nobody even wanted to take pictures with him. So, among all that, what would you highlight? I think for the world in general, it's Xi Jinping and Biden's negotiations that are important. Of course, our statement that Zelensky made at this summit is a key thing for Ukraine, and he did highlight very similar things that we discussed here at the show. He said that we are a responsible country, we always fulfilled our promises, but we're not going to sacrifice our sovereignty and our territory to satisfy somebody's opinions and the aggressor who is killing our citizens daily. So our position is very simple. We are open to negotiations the day after the last troop of Russia leaves our territory. What Russia is suggesting now, these are not negotiations, this is ultimatum. And we are not going to agree to that. Basically, F you, that was the message. 88% of our citizens support that position, no negotiations, let's kill every invader till they're out of our country. The problem is they have killed a lot of people, they have killed a lot of children. As a nation, we cannot forgive them until we are satisfied with the result of our victory. Nobody, including our president, will deviate from the concept of military victory. The nation just cannot forgive other decision. We need to win militarily over these dudes on the battlefield, who came here to dictate their will, who steal our appliances, who kill and rape 4-year-old girls. What negotiations are you talking about? Until we physically kick them out, there is nothing to talk about. Of course, later we'll have to discuss, because they will still be the neighbors, but only after the military victory. And military victory is when not a single shit is left in our territory. And that's what President highlighted today. There'll be no compromise. No compromise in territory or anything else. Or they can withdraw voluntarily, and then we can discuss after. This is our negotiation position. Alright, 24 minutes we are live. Here's what Russian Defense Ministry is stating about today's attack on Poland territory. Statements of the official representatives about so-called Russian missiles falling on the territory of Poland is provocation. Russian means Russian missiles, Russian military means we're not targeting anything in Przewodów in Poland, and whatever is discovered there has nothing to do with Russian missiles. So there are more news about waiting for Brussels and diplomatic requests to investigate the incident. Pentagon is making statement they want to investigate the reason. Was it a planned strike or an accident? There are some pictures of parts that fell on Poland. I'm not a specialist, it's hard for me to tell. Right, Mark, if there is nothing written on that made in Kostroma, it's hard to tell. The specialists will determine, of course. Thing is, even on the Ukrainian missile, it can be written made in Kostroma because most of these missiles were made in Soviet times. And they would be made in the same factory. Okay, first results. Reuters is saying that White House requested additional $30+ billion to help Ukraine. Do you think this is the result of these events? Well, timing doesn't necessarily mean that it is a result, but it could be. And the United States are not looking to escalate situation, so they likely will continue supporting, but so you suspect it will be sort of a weighted approach. Yes, Mark, I think they will first determine what happened, who is guilty, and then based on that, they will take their measures. If it was on purpose, then yes, 5th article of NATO probably will be, at least consultations will be started. If it was an accident, there likely will be just a court with consequences. On the other hand, we likely will get more weapons and more financial support to fight against this war. Okay. We're just going through the news to see if anything else pops up. Vladimir Zelensky made a statement that Russian terror does not cover only Ukrainian territory. Russian missiles are now hitting territory of Poland, and the more they feel untouchable, the more their missiles will be flying around. And that's why we should act. Andrei Yermak also made a similar statement. They're not thinking about stopping at Ukraine. They never did. So the question is, was it intentional this time? Because frankly, looking at their further, if they have capability a year or two later, I have no concerns. I know that they will be making these shots on purpose. So, another question. In the coming winter, given that it will be cold and infrastructure was damaged, first of all, energy supply lines, do you think that hit can affect situation to the worse than you guys were expecting? Mark, the strikes are not done yet. I think they will continue. Of course, let's include that. Including that, it's still hard to tell. We have no idea about their success rate and their effectivity. They can damage everything very seriously, or they can barely damage anything else, depending upon their luck and our anti-missile defense. Now about 10 to 13 million of Ukrainians are sitting without electricity. It's -6 Celsius. It's about 15, 20 Fahrenheit.
А что происходит там с
So what's
батареями,
happening
тепловыми
with
и всё
heat?
остальное?
So far, everybody whom I know, whom I could poll, they do have heat. 90% don't have electricity, but all of them have heat. But you guys do get electricity sometimes? Yeah, Kiev is black right now. For the most part, it's really a couple hours a day that we get electricity. Is it
Ну да, ну да.
almost like in the days of Second World War, keeping light pollution at bay? Market doesn't help. They're flying by GPS, they're flying by maps, they're not flying by light, by visual.
Тем не менее,
Okay,
страны
I
НАТО
understand. So
ситуации.
yeah, I'm seeing more countries, more NATO countries excited. Yeah, Mark, they will be excited until they get an answer, because it's a fork on the road. If it is an intended strike, then it's one scenario. If it is an accident, then as an attorney, you know it will be qualified as an accident and will probably be tied to responsibility of Russian Federation because they had hostile intentions against Ukraine and that caused an accident. And 100% there'll be a court proceedings. I understand the court is independent, it's hard to predict, but I suspect Russia will be found guilty if everything will go normally and will be assigned a certain penalty or retribution for that strike. It will be similar to what happened with Boeing. I always say that those who expect a severe reaction on the West, just look back at the situation with Boeing. There was no military answer to that, no military response to this incident. They can just add more sanctions, and that's about it, really. Although I am sure that Boeing was shut down on purpose. So I'd say with high likelihood it is intended. Looking back at history, Lockerbie was investigated for 10 years, and that's not even Russia, that's just Gaddafi. So I'm just suggesting to look at things soberly. What I'm sure is that Ukraine will get more help. That's yes. That's a definite yes. I think Ukraine has to use that situation. Mark, what do you mean use that situation? We always stated our position. We always said that it is impossible to hold this war at bay. If it is escalating, it will likely spill over. And the best way to end it is to help us end it. You don't even need to fight yourself. Just give us means and we'll finish it for you. Do not use a drip method of giving us supplies. Give us enough ammo, give us enough armor, and we'll finish the tasks. We're not afraid. This is our goal. So I think I'm skeptical about NATO reaction, but I'm optimistic about getting more ammo and more armor and more military supplies. Nobody is happy about that situation because people died, but I mean, objectively, we will, I think, get more military support. Okay, in other news, Ukraine stopped pumping oil on the pipeline Friendship, Druzhba, that I think is going to Hungary because Orban already screamed and called for National Security Council. Official from Ukraine, from Transneft, said that actually official from Russian Transneft made a statement that the Ukrainian side cannot pump oil anymore because of lack of electricity to power the pumps. Following that and the missile strike in Poland, Orban in Hungary called upon his Security Council to meet today. And military representatives led phone conversations with NATO representatives. So, in your opinion, it's always an issue with Hungary, right, in EU? And here it's such a direct story. Yeah, they actually voted in United Nations for reparations. They did support us. They have a very specific position. One cannot say it's completely problematic. It's just specific. It does create a bunch of upsets for us with their specific concepts to not give money to train our soldiers in the NATO and some other things. But as for the oil pipeline, there is no evil intentions here. We just don't have enough electricity. That's it. Because one can imagine that all these pumps and generators, they eat a lot of energy. They basically took out electric lines throughout the country, so it takes us time to recover, to reconnect everything. Yeah, but it does look like that Hungary is interested. Mark, their interest is limited by 2.5 weeks. Let's be objective. Since the 5th of December, there is an embargo going on, so they're pumping the last drops from that pipeline. And by the way, even China is limiting their contracts with Russia. So, how would you comment about Biden's and Xi Jinping's negotiations regarding stopping the war in Ukraine? I heard they started talking about it, but I'm not sure they finished. I don't think they even talk about stopping this war, because China generally is following Western rhetoric. If anything, if he supports Putin to a degree, it's not because he supports Putin, it's because he doesn't want the West to win completely. So, what we're being told now, that summit, the G19, just started. It will go today and tomorrow. And Russia has already left, right? So the resolution of G20 is possible. They can come up with a resolution at the end of it. And we'll see what kind of decisions they'll make. I'm still skeptical, but we'll see. I'm only optimistic about military help to Ukraine. That I believe in. People are asking me, is it a black swan event? Is it not a black swan event? In this case, it is a black swan because it may enlarge supplies of ammo and weapons to Ukraine. That may change the situation on the front. Maybe longer reaching HIMARS, more tanks, more armored vehicles. Poles would be glad to give us more, but they already gave almost what they had. So the whole bloc, the whole NATO group, as a group in general, could have given us more, for sure. So if that number that you voiced earlier in 37 billion is correct, this is a good number. By the way, overall, throughout this war, we got only $50 billion, both military and financial help. If you think that's a big number, remember the Greece bankruptcy in 2008 or whatever? They got 150 billion. We got 50 billion while we were defending our destiny and the future of Europe. I'm not even saying how much money did the Allies bury in Afghanistan. Yeah, I think they have money. They have money like sea, they just don't know where to put. Yeah, they gave 150 to Greece and didn't even hiccup. Yeah, they do have money. Europe is much richer than it seems. I don't think they even know where to invest them now. So, we'll see. This is, of course, a black swan event, and we'll see if it changes the rules of the game or not. Okay, we have about 475,000 watching us, over 140,000 click the like button. Our next day and the day after streams will be very interesting, so come here at 10 p.m. Kiev, or the usual time when Privateer Station releases that, in the morning Eastern. These shows will be very interesting, and I'm sure we'll be discussing a lot of fallout from that situation. Do not forget to subscribe to Feygin Live, to Alexei Arestovich, and to the Privateer Station. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.